FPT reduction, okay, and then we believed or we assume that click is hard or whatever that means, and we were trying to make a world where all the problems were reduced from click. Okay, so we also saw that these reductions are transitive. Okay, so let's see how did we build the world. So first of all, notice that click and independent set are actually equivalent. You can give a reduction from one to each other. G comma k to so basically the reduction is G comma k to G complement comma k. And then we started doing some non-trivial reduction, and then we gave a reduction from click to a regular click, right? What is a regular click? Where every vertex had the same degree. And then we gave a reduction from click to, let's say, okay, another reduction we gave from click to, let's say, multicolor click, right? And this is more or less what we saw last time. So now notice one thing, look at a click and look at a regular click. The reduction which we gave from click to regular click, whatever the construction was, or look at a regular click. I can, from regular click, I can give a reduction to a regular independent set. How? Why? Again, same reduction, G comma k, G bar comma k. Why? Because if every vertex in G has degree R, then in complement every vertex has degree n minus R, right? So you have a reduction here, okay. Now when we gave a reduction from click to multicolor click, right, so we also know the regular independent set is hard or it's equivalent to click as a hardness. Now I also would like to show is that regular version of multicolor click is hard, and that was, we didn't do anything in the construction last time, and what all I would like to do, so this is one reduction. So now I want to say that regular multicolor click is hard. But let's recall the reduction which we had last time from click to multicolor click. What did we do? We started with an instance G k, and we made V1, V2, Vk, k copies of the vertex set. Each Vi was an independent set. And so basically for, suppose G had a vertex set V of G, V1 to Vn, so for each Vi, we had a copy Vi1, Vi2, Vik. So here Vi1, Vi2, Vik, right? And how did we give an edge between two guys? We gave an edge between a pair, right, if the corresponding guys had an edge in the original graph. That's all that we did, right? So let's write it formally. If U and V are different and adjacent in G, okay, then we make U and V, then we make, let's call, I think this will be a, if Vi, let's call it Vx and Vy are different and adjacent, then we make Vxi, okay, and what else we have? Vyj, okay, adjacent for every ij between this and this. Okay, I not equal to j. So basically look at their copies in every pair, every class, and just make them adjacent, right? So basically if you look at Vi Vj, if you really want to understand this, then look at Vi Vj, right? So Vx1, Vx2, sorry, Vy1, right? Here Vx2, Vy2, dot dot dot, Vxk, Vyk. And what are we saying? For all I not equal to j, so here I not equal to j, right? Just keep giving edge between pair. This is all that it says. Pictorially, this is exactly what it means. You look at this vertex, he is adjacent to everybody else here, right? Everybody is adjacent to every other vertex except the guy in its own copy, right? So I think what it will be k2, 2, 2, 2, like complete partite subgraph where each part has size 2. So if you just concentrate on a pair of vertex which forms an edge, then look at their copies in each, then so like suppose there are two vertices, so k22 means you give a complete bipartite graph between this, right? Complete bipartite graph between every part. So if you just concentrate on any two part, it's a complete bipartite graph. So if I just concentrate on 2, it's a complete bipartite graph, right? Both. And so this is what it is, okay? But what happens if I additionally, I did exactly the same thing, but I started with a regular clique. Then my claim to you is that, okay, proof, everything holds, but additionally we can say that every vertex here has a same degree. Why? Because look at any vertex here, right? How many neighbors this guy has? R neighbors. Because I started with R neighbors, then it has exactly R neighbors here, it has exactly R neighbors here, it has exactly R neighbors here. So what we can say is that proof of correctness is exactly the same. If every vertex Vi element of Vz has degree equal to R, implies every vertex Vi L, L being into K, has degree exactly equal to K minus 1 into R, right? Because in each, so this is why, so it helps to understand them as a K complete. So each guy has a neighbor into all these guys, each guy has a neighbor here, 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 here. I think I said something wrong. What did I say something wrong?
It's not complete bipartite because the copy vertex is.
You don't give a edge, okay? So that's not correct. So this is like you do not like, so basically it's complete bipartite graph. Now look at the copies of each guy, so that part of the clique you just delete from the graph, because otherwise that will form a clique and then you are in dead case, because for every vertex those k copies is going to form a clique, right? So you shouldn't give those edges, okay? My bad, okay? So this is it. So you give, like it is not complete bipartite graph, it's complete bipartite graph modulo except that a vertex and its copies do not have its edge, that's it, okay, fine. So what have we have shown? So like just to, we will build this as much as we can. So now I have also shown to you that regular clique is hard, regular multicolor clique is hard. It's the same reduction, it's just that we have to start with regular clique, which gives us that the degree of the reduced, degree of a vertex in the reduced instance is also exactly the same, okay? So far so good, okay. I want to say from here I also get a regular multicolored independent set. Just take complement, no? If I take complement, there are many ways of taking complement. Sometimes what is important for us for several reduction, that whenever you have such kind of objects, bipartite graph, when you say copy, like take complement, one is normal complements, you just take here, it does not matter because part remains the same and you are looking for an independent set, so it's fine. So this is not. But sometimes it is important for the reduction that you want to maintain, say, bipartiteness, right? Then you do not take complement here, but you will take complement across, like bipartite complementation, right? So here you just leave them independent, but across look at any pair and whatever edges are there you leave, like you do not, like you take all the edges which are not present here but across. So this is, in some sense, this is called bipartite complementation, and this is also important ingredient when you make lots of reductions. Okay, so far so good. So yes, so so for our purposes it doesn't matter whether it is independent or non-independent. Even if it is not independent, I can just delete all the edges and the instance is equivalent. Similarly, for multicolored independent set, it does not matter if I pick one vertex from here because that's what I want. So what I'm saying that I could, even if this would have been independent set, I could also have come up with a reduction where I said, oh, still maintain independent set, but here just take the complement of the edges and that's it. Okay, fine. Okay, so this shows all this. Fine. These were very simple reductions, but now we will try to see slightly harder reduction and see what brought. Okay, so let me start with slightly simpler reduction of the problem, and then I'll one more simple reduction, and then I'll do slightly complicated reduction. How many of them I can do today? Okay, so as I told you last time, I would like to show that partial vertex cover is hard. What I want to say? Prove the following theorem. Partial vertex cover is as hard as clique. Okay, I'm still not using any jargons. All I'm saying that these are simple reductions starting from clique which preserves the parameter, right? And most of the reductions are polynomial time minimum reductions, right? Because we are taking polynomial time, right? Okay, okay. And there is a reason why I am not defining it, because I do not want to define any classes or something. Okay, okay. So for parameterized complexity, it is good enough if you can give a FPT reduction starting from any of these problems which I have built for you. That means that problem cannot admit or an FPT algorithm unless certain kind of complexity theory which we believe will not collapse. Okay, fine. So first of all, let's remember what was the partial vertex cover problem was. So input was G, K and S. Input. Parameter was K, and the question was, does there exist S subset of Vg mod S is bounded by K and the number of edges incident with vertices in S is at least little s, right? So if you notice, when S equal to H set of G, this is nothing but normal vertex cover. Okay, but you can also ask several questions to yourself. Okay, here are some questions to ask yourself at this point of time. Okay, okay. So the first question which comes to my mind, what happens? So we are going to show that the problem parameterized by K is as hard as clique, and hence we do not expect to have a fixed parameter tractable algorithm. But what about the other parameter, right? What about K plus S? What about S alone, right? Is this problem fixed parameter tractable, right? Okay. And at least on bipartite graph, it has a very cute algorithm. So if someone is interested, let me first tell you that really very cute algorithm. And unfortunately or fortunately, that's the only known algorithm which I am aware of. Really very cute algorithm. Okay. Okay. So here's a algorithmic idea which I find it very useful to have. Okay. So what we are going to show that, so first, okay, and meanwhile your task is to think about this reduction. This reduction is there on the board. That's all the hint I'll give you. This reduction is already done and dusted. All I have to say, here is a reduction. Okay. So I can waste my 3 minutes explaining an algorithm. So what I want to show, partial vertex cover on bipartite graphs is fixed point retractable. Okay. Now let's ask ourselves a more. Actually, I asked this question in 2015 in my exam. I don't think anybody remembers, but I did ask. Okay. Nobody reads it. What did it use? Okay. So what can you say? Which vertex, from which class of vertices a vertex must be selected? Okay, forget about this. Let's try to understand why is this problem hard at all. Why the, look, what will the basic heuristic? What will the basic heuristic for this problem? Is that why not I pick a vertex of highest degree, then I pick a vertex of another. So I sort the vertices like a natural heuristic. A natural heuristic for this problem will be sort the vertices with sort the vertices with respect to degree. So we have V1, V2, Vn, and what is the property? D of V1 is greater than or equal to D of V2, D of Vn. Okay, and the natural idea will be is that, hey, why not we just pick the first k guys, right? Pick the first k vertices. If this covers S guys, we are happy, but if it does not cover S guys, then we are not happy. But why this might not, look, in which circumstances you can say, by looking at this first high k degree vertices, you can tell that, look, if this is the only reason I cannot conclude that this might be a no instance is because of what? The edges among themselves. Edges, when I count like this, an edge is counted twice, right? Now you should understand that what the reduction is trying to say, right? I can come up with a budget in a way that the only way to reach this budget is that you cannot have an edge among yourselves, right? So that's point number one. You understand, Sudipta? Look, why is this not like, I want to imagine yourself that we had a following property, that look at the set first k vertices and there is no edge among them. There is no edge among them. This is an independent set, right? If this was an independent set, luckily for us, then I am claiming to you that if this first k guys did not give me S edge, then no k guys is going to give me an S edge. That is it. So if this was an independent set, then I can conclusively say yes or no based on looking at summing these degrees, because every edge is contributing exactly once here. The only problem can happen is that I have some edges here, and now this edge is counted twice, one for this vertex, other this vertex, and hence it is possible that there is another set where the intersection, where the edges among themselves is maybe much lesser, and hence things which are going out is slightly more, and that is your answer. So the only reason we cannot conclusively say this because of the presence of this edge, and that is what will determine us the hardness, right? Because if we set the budget in a way that if you pick, because look, S is in our hand, think for a minute, S is in our hand, that is a budget. If I set S appropriately, that whatever you do, the moment you pick an edge inside here, you cannot pick, like the only sets which can satisfy this budget is those which are independent, because once you have an edge among yourself, you are dead, right? So that will give us the desired hardness, okay, but that also points us towards an algorithm, okay. What is this? Okay, let us try to get these guys to be independent, okay. For example, I claim to you is that Okay, I'll come in a minute. Okay, so this is a natural heuristic which we apply, and if you just return the first k guys, okay, as an answer, this is an 1 plus epsilon answer to the problem. So it's very close to. So just return the first s guy. You can prove that for any given epsilon, you just return this much. This is like 1 plus epsilon to s, because this k square among them is not too much. Based on what the value of s is, you can play some games. Okay, so I'm not going. So this is a good heuristic, it's not a bad heuristic, it's a very good heuristic. Okay, but now we have a bipartite graph. So okay, so the which vertex among which set of vertices, I must say that hey, if you do not pick a vertex from this set of vertices, there is no way you are going to have a solution. Okay, so look at this S, look at this set S, which is our so-called solution. There could be an edge here, I don't know. But if there are k guys, by averaging principle, what can you say about a vertex? There should be a vertex which should cover at least 1 by S, 1 by k fraction of S. There is a vertex which covers at least 1 by k fraction of total number of edges which is incident on this guy. And that is it, we are done. So now what is for bipartite graph? We will say okay, let us say take W, doj V, degree of V is at least S over K. My claim is that whatever you do, W intersection optimum solution is going to be non-empty. Okay. Now let us apply this heuristic here on this. Suppose W was larger than 2k. My claim is that this is an ES instance. Why? If the cardinality of W is greater than 2k, my claim is this is an ES instance. Why? Because why? I mean, this is okay, but finding a right reason why this is okay. My claim is if the size of W is large, and by large I have quantified say at least 2k, my answer is yes. No. No. I am looking only for solution of size k. I am not looking for solution of size 2k. Okay. So even if W is too large, I just pick up 2k vertices. Let us W tilde subset of W is exactly equal to 2k.
At least k vertices are in one partition.
And that's the answer. Look at graph induced on W tilde. What is this graph induced on W tilde? It's a bipartite graph. If G was bipartite graph, this is bipartite. Implies that exists a partition of W tilde into W1 tilde W tilde and say what? And say what?
Look, the pigeonhole principle, at least one of these two sets have a cardinality at least k.
We are looking for solution size at most k.
No, we are starting. The number of edges they cover is 2s.
S into K, it's done, right?
What?
It's done as you said. You took W tilde subset of W of size exactly 2K. Now, now you look at, this is a bipartite graph. As you said, the pigeonhole principle, one of the parts is of size at least K.
We are looking for sets of size at most k, not at least k.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
You look at that. So basically there is one independent set. Okay, you have a bipartite graph now. Look at one independent set, one partition. This is that partition.
Yes.
And now each vertex has degree at least S by K. And none of them have these things.
So after this, we just had to come up with one set which is of cardinality at most k and which is independent. If I know this W.
No.
If I know this W.
No.
Of
not at most k. I need a solution. I don't know. All I am saying to you, whatever you are saying is still does not give me an answer. Give me completely, concretely and clean answer.
I have this W. We
Okay.
picked up any W tilde which is of cardinality 2k.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Now look at the graph, bipartite graph induced on W tilde.
Okay, I took.
It has two sets, W1 tilde and W2 tilde. Right? My claim is at least one of them is of order at least k.
What is order? Order I do not understand.
Cardinality.
Okay, yes, this is true.
Cardinality at least k.
Yes.
And it's independent.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say W1 tilde is of cardinality at most k, at least k. Sorry, W1 tilde is cardinality at least k.
Okay.
It's independent set.
Okay.
Right.
Fine.
Okay, so I again take any subset of W1 tilde which is of cardinality exactly equal to k.
Okay, I took.
Cardinality exactly equal to k. Right? Now I know that each vertex has a degree lower bounded at s by k. So the number of edges covered by this guys is s.
Is it okay? That's it. And if it is not, then what do we know about W tilde? Edge of size? At most 2k. So then what can you do? So if, yeah, so if W tilde is large, we are happy, and if W tilde is small, then what? So what? Huh?
At least one vertex is in the solution.
Huh?
At least one vertex is in the solution.
So
So you'll have to pick that and remove the edges incident on it. No.
So can we at least claim this thing? So there cannot be a solution that completely avoids W.
that we already claimed. How can that be? Yes, just branch on them.
You pick a vertex and also remove the edges and delete the vertex.
That's, use the right terminology. You perform a branching. You don't know which vertex this is. So you guess the right vertex, you delete this vertex and delete all the edges incident to it, and you in the remaining graph you reduce your budget by k minus 1 and s minus whatever the edges you have covered by these vertices, and that's it. So you just go on doing this, right? So at any point of time, either you perform a branching or you perform a following analysis, right? Okay. So what will the running time of this algorithm will be? Running time of this algorithm is going to be 2 power k into some polynomial in S. Okay, try to improve this. That's your question. I mean, I do not know how to improve this at this point of time, so it's a nice question to think about. Right? Or let's try to show that this is tight, which it might be. I mean, we might be able to show that this is. I mean, we cannot improve this by some things. Okay, so we'll get back to that. Okay, but put it in your list of things to do. Okay, fine. So what is my reduction? So this is your algorithm, right? So somehow it's the independence which helps you. So independence should give you the reduction. So what is my reduction? As I told you, I mean, the reduction is on the board. Okay, I'm not teaching hardness, so I'm not. This is just a, what is that called? I would say digression. I'm not even giving you details of. I mean, there's no more detail. This is all the details which you wanted to have. Okay, so my hardness. What is an appropriate problem to start from, and what will the Okay. So Rohani suggests that we should try from regular independent set to PVC. Okay, partial vertex cover. Okay. So what is given? So regular independent set has G, K. Every vertex has degree equal to R. What is my instance for partial vertex cover? G. I need to know the budget and I need to know S equal to K. Right? Every vertex can only cover R edges, Lokin, right? So look at the forward direction. Okay. So if G has an independent set of size, here is G, and it is an independent set of size S, of size exactly equal to K. Now, how many edges are incident to him? Right? Every one is exactly equal to Rk, right? But G is an R regular graph. So let's suppose I have a set S which covers, what happened? Which covers, okay, and suppose it is not an independent set, it means it has an edge here, then it was a regular graph, right? Then how many edges did we cover? Every vertex covers maybe, even if you have one edge inside, then by budget, except these two vertex, suppose everybody else is inside, so K minus 2 into R plus this guy, one guy is covering R edges, but now we have taken care of this. So this guy only covers R minus 1 edges, right? So even if you have one edge inside, your budget will fail. So to maintain the budget, it is prerogative, it is a complete prerogative that is an independent set, and that is why like this problem is just round up there, okay, just by budget. So what we played here, we played on the budget, right? Okay, fine. So that should just end our foray into simple things. Okay. So now I am going to show to you a first non-trivial reduction, and let's see. Okay, and if you did the complement here, it is multicolored independent set. Fine. Okay. So now I am going to give a reduction from multicolored independent set or independent set, does not matter, to dominating set. Okay, multicolored independent set to dominating set. But let us first define what dominating set problem is. So dominating set problem is input G, K, parameter is K, and the question is, the G has a set D subset of Vg such that closed neighborhood of D is equal to Vg, that is for every vertex V in Vg, either V is in D or neighborhood of V intersection D is not equal to empty set. That's it. So either you have a vertex inside the dominating set or a vertex neighboring in the dominating set. For example, if I drew this graph, what is the dominating set here? Can you give me a dominating set? Yeah, so look at any vertex, it is a neighbor here, right? So it is a dominating set of size 1. What about here? This is also dominating set. I could have also taken this as a dominating set, right? This is also fine. But notice this is not a vertex cover, right? So these are different objects, right? Every vertex cover is also a dominating set, but every dominating set is not a vertex cover. An example is here, right? This is a dominating set because every vertex has a neighbor inside the set, but it does not cover all the edges. And if you take a complete graph, that's a great example because one vertex dominates everybody else, but for vertex cover you need all but one vertex, right, for example. Okay, fine. So now why this is an interesting reduction from multi-Clerk independent set to dominating set, which is basically reduction from, you can think, clique to independent set to dominating set, because the whole parameterized complexity was set up, the hardness world was set up on this reduction actually. So a problem which are as hard as clique or the closure of clique, what is the meaning of closure of clique? Means those from which I can give an FPT reduction from clique, okay. Basically this is how you should think, those who have reduction from clique, okay. This is what we are going to call it W1 hard, okay. So what will this imply if we are able to show a reduction from multi-Clerk independent set to dominating set, that dominating set is W1 hard because we are able to provide such a reduction from clique or independent set. Now for a long time people had a desire to show, to prove that what about the reduction other way, right? What about reduction, what about reduction from anything which we have obtained, right? What about those? Is there such a reduction exist, right? Like, so that would have meant in terms of FET closure that they are equivalent problem, the way clique and independent set are equivalent problem. I can give a reduction from here. In fact, notice all this, for all of these guys I can give actually a backward reduction from them. So actually all they are equivalent problem in the world, right? But for a long time we try to make a reduction from dominating set to independent set, we don't know how to make such a reduction, okay. And we believe now that we cannot make such a reduction, okay. So in some sense in the world of parameterized complexity there is a hierarchy of problems and there is a hierarchy of classes or hierarchy of hardness, whatever that means, okay. And since we are able to give reduction from independent set to dominating set, what does it mean? It means if dominating set had a good algorithm or a parameterized algorithm, then we will be able to design an algorithm for this. But not having a reduction from dominating set to independent set means what? Even if you had a good algorithm for independent set, it does not mean that you will have an algorithm for dominating set, right? when you say NP complete, these objects are NP complete. If any one of these problem has a desired polynomial time algorithm, I will have desired polynomial time algorithm, right? So there is also a theory. So like how do you show this thing? So how do you show NP completeness? To show NP completeness, you prove two things. It belongs to NP, and every problem from every problem I can reduce to my favorite problem. So there is a notion of membership also in parameterized complexity, which I am not going into at all, right? And this, so what is a notion? There is a notion of membership that if a problem has such kind of syntactic structure, then we will say that the problem belongs to W1, right? Or if problem has circuit of following kind, we will say the problem belongs to that particular class, okay? So that is, but if I have a reduction from every problem, whatever that means W1 to my favorite problem, then automatically means that this problem is hard for this class, because every problem is able to make a reduction to this object. Meaning having an algorithm for this problem means having an algorithm for every problem in this particular class. But we are not able to give a reduction to dominating set from to independent set. And in parameterized complexity, so the way we had a closure for independent set, we also have a notion of for closure for dominating set, okay? So we do not expect FPT reduction from dominating set for independent set, okay? So there is a notion of closure, here is my dominating set, and closure of dominating set. Basically means FPT reduction from dominating set to my problem, okay? All these are simplified version of the notion, but that is good enough for us to perform or do whatever task we are interested in, and these are called W2 hard, right? So in, yes?
So when we are different closure here, we said those problems have reduction to and from.
No, those who have reduction from click, yes. So dominating set is also W1 hard. All I say that these problems we can also show a backward reduction, and that will mean that they are actually equivalent problem. Look, I have always, up until now, all I have shown is this way. I have only used equivalence here because I can give reduction back and forth. I have given you both reduction.
So, okay, this closure means
This is not a formal definition. This is what I am going to mean.
even for this.
Yes, those who have reduction from click, okay? FPT reduction from dominating set to my problem. I am never saying from my problem to dominating set. If such things happens, then those two problems are equivalent. And this we are going to call W2 hard, right? So there is so in some sense by W2 we mean these are those problems which are harder than W1. In what sense? Because as I told you in the beginning, right? Because if you had an algorithm for FPT algorithm for dominating set, you definitely have an FPT algorithm for all these problems, right? Every problem in W1 you will have because of this beautiful reduction, right? Because all those problems which are W1 complete, not W1 hard, W1 complete, it means those who belongs to W1 and they have reductions among themselves, right? That class will have an FPT algorithm, right? But having an FPT algorithm for independent set does not imply that we will have an FPT algorithm for dominating set, okay? And that's a distinction I would like to make. So that is why in FPT world we have W0 which is contained inside W1, which is contained inside W2, and so on and so forth. And this is nothing but your FPT. This is a class of problems for which we have fixed parameter tractable algorithm, right? And to show your problem does not admit such an algorithm, it is good enough for you to give a reduction to any of these things. So for all practical purposes, at least I do not care about whether it is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, whether it is complete or not, whether it belongs or not. I personally do not care, because as an algorithmist I am only happy to distinguish between whether it admits an algorithm or it does not admit an algorithm. This is all I'm happy with. But complexity theorists will like to show this is complete and that, so that's a completely different perspective which I will not even go into. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, so,
It's a complexity theory. What is the belief that W2 you cannot hope to?
our belief is that all this is a what do you call proper subset.
I mean, under what?
Under what? This itself is an assumption, right?
So
Why?
there's no underlying assumption to this.
Why? No, this is an assumption. This itself. What is the underlying assumption for P naught equal to NP?
Yeah. So I just wonder. So this is a separate assumption.
Yes,
There is-
this is an assumption. Okay, okay. People defined something in between W0 and W1, which is called M1, which I'm not going to go into, and which is equivalent to ETH or some such thing, but I'm not going to get into those. Okay, fine. So now all I would like to show to you is a appropriate reduction from dominating set. Okay, fine. So now I would like to reduce from multicolor independent set to dominating set. So what should be my idea from this? How should I go forward? So what is my input? My input is G, okay, okay, and it's multicolor independent set, right? So basically, let's call this color class V1, V2, Vk, okay, dot, dot, dot. Okay. And what is your goal here? You like to pick typically one vertex from each, such that that forms an independent set. Right? This is a graph and that forms an independent set. That is what will be assumption. Now, what I would like to do, I would like to convert this into, I would like to convert, think of this way, the dominating set is a programming language in which I would like to write an independent set. Dominating set is a programming language in which I want to express my independent set. Right? C is a programming language in which you express lots of problems. So dominating set is a programming language in which I would like to express independent set. And this is basically what reduction means. So you have a problem and look at whatever favorite problem, you are trying to express that problem in this language. Right? So if you have that perspective of conversion, the reduction becomes much more easier. Okay? So if this is what it is, so I have been, what is an independent set given? It's like G and K. Right? And somehow looking at V1, V2, Vk, right, all I know that I need to pick one vertex from each. But yes, in the forward direction I will definitely pick one vertex from each. But whatever happens in the reverse direction of this proof, I would like that somehow there is some way to pick k guys so that it corresponds to picking a vertex from here, vertex from here, vertex from here. Right? How do I force myself to pick a vertex from here? Right, that's first thing. And the natural thing to do is that first of all, look, I'm converting this into dominating set problem. What I'm converting this problem into? A dominating set problem, right? So first of all, for each color class, someone needs to dominate this guy. So what is the natural way of making them dominating? Just make them to click. So what did I do? Make each into a click. That's the first thing. Okay. Now, what does it mean? You have to be careful. But now I have not done it. Look, there are edges here, right? Among classes. For now, let's just forget it. Forget this edges here. no edges here for now. We'll make those edges, don't worry, right? Okay, so now if this is a dominating set instance, this is all that I have dominating set instance, right? From this, oh, if I had a k independent set, then clearly I just go and pick this k guys from here, I'm done, right? Fine. And the reverse direction, these are like different clicks, so I have to pick one vertex from here, right? That's perfectly fine. I have to pick one vertex from here, right? I go back in my old graph, yeah, but it's not an independent set. Only problem is that in the forward direction, it does not matter. I have a k size dominating set because all I have is a k disjoint clicks. Now I say, let's have a k size dominating set from here. Yes, I have a k size dominating set here. I go back to my original graph. What is the problem? It may not be an independent set. So I need a gadget which, if I pick this, it will ensure that I have a what do you call independence in the world. So I need to add more gadgets. I need to have an edges into this. You have some issue?
So suppose we do just this state that we make it into k.
And there are no edges across. What did I say? Please listen completely. There is no edges at this point of time. All I have is just vertex disjoint k clicks. My forward direction holds, right? If this is what my gadget is, if I have a k size multicolor independent set, yes, then you are going to pick one vertex from each class and you are going to assimilate this, right? Now in the reverse direction, what happens is that I pick my k vertices because now I need to pick one from each click, because if you don't pick, and assume that this click are big enough, like 2, 3, at least there's one vertex here, and there are no edges, you have to pick this guy, you have no choice. But when I go back to my old graph, okay, so let's draw the old graph here, okay. So let's say this is my g comma k, and here is my g star comma k, which is in progress of construction, right. So we have g comma k, and they have edges here, they have edges here, they have edges here, I don't know how they have edges, like all I know that each part is independent set, nothing more, and this problem demands that I pick one from each. So when I project this vertices which is dominating set here, okay, fine, right, they might have an edges here. So what I would like to do, I would like to have the following idea, that look, somehow I need to do something here, that the only way to dominate all these objects will be that from every edge, what is the constraint of an every edge? Look, set of vertices which we pick, right, set of vertices which we pick, among them there is no edge, that is an independent set definition, right, that is right. Or if I tell you the following thing, hey, this is a set which has the following property, from every edge it picks at most one vertex, I claim this is also an independent set, a set which from every edge picks at most one vertex. This is equivalent of saying that S is an independent set, right, because S is not picking both endpoints of an edge, right. It may not pick anything, that's okay, but if it picks at most one, and this is what I would like to have, okay. So what I do, it's a very clever trick, one line trick, but this is what do you think should we do? Only hint is I need such a gadget for every edge, right, because I don't know which edge we need. Okay, so let's be very smart. Let's just focus on one edge. Okay, here it is U, here is V, and what I would like to do? Think. I want to have the following fact: a set which I want to construct with the following property, that this set does not pick both of these guys. So in this language, what will it mean? If S picks both the edges, what happens? It is not a dominating, because that's all that we can say, right? We are trying to convert this problem into a dominating set problem. So now I would like to say that, look, if you have picked this edge, then your solution is not a dominating set. corresponding to what? Okay, so let's see what? Think for 10 seconds, close your eyes and think for 10 seconds, there is nothing more than that. Please think, right? So we will have a vertex here for a between, suppose this vertex is between say Vi and Vj, so let's say for, it doesn't matter, for every edge it has a one endpoint in some Vi and other endpoint in some Vj, right? So suppose I have some Vi and some Vj, and as Rohan, and I will have an edge, I have a vertex here W, suppose it is UV, U is here and V is here. What I would like to show, what I would like, think for a minute, what I would like him to be. Look, only way to dominate him is that you have not picked both of these guys into your dominating set. Only way to dominate, I would like to have, so if I pick both U and V into my solution, there is no way I can dominate WUV, because that is the only thing which is in control. Exactly. So what you do, connect WUV to everybody else but to UV. Okay. So now what? For every edge U equal to U comma V, where U is in Vi and V is in Vj. Okay, let's rub this. This is not interesting anymore for me. Add a vertex WUV and make it adjacent to what? Vi minus U and Vj minus V. That's it. That's all that I do. Right? So this guy, this is not there, but everybody else is there. Okay. But now there are problems. There are two problems now. Look at the backward direction. In the backward direction, what happens now? So forward direction, now let's see from here up until now. Does the forward direction hold? Because if the even forward direction does not hold, what are we trying to achieve? Okay. So if I had a independent set here, let's go back here. Clearly all the clicks are dominated still. Now look at the newly added vertex, right? Oh, newly added vertex, why it will not be dominated? The only reason it is not dominated is you have picked up, because look, this vertex has neighbors only in Vi, only in Vj. And suppose we are looking in the forward direction, so we are not picking WUV. So the only reason you have not dominated WUV is that either you have picked both U and V. But that is a contradiction to the fact that what you started with was an independent set. So forward direction still holds and every edge vertex is dominated. Fine. But let us look at the backward direction. Now backward direction, now we get into slightly this thing, we pick vertices. Now how are we guaranteed that we will pick vertex from here? We could be picking new vertices from here, right? So what you do is you do some stupid slide trick. I mean, you can still might argue that, oh, if this happens I can do that, but hey, this is a very powerful vertex. He dominates two color classes completely except two vertices. It's not good. This vertex dominates everything in two color classes but though. So what you do, I would like to force myself that I must pick one vertex from here. Look, up until now, if when this vertices we did not add, we only had disjoint clicks, so we were forced to pick one vertex from each click. So forward direction still holds. For the reverse direction, I would like to force my gadget that, okay, whatever happens from this click, you must pick one vertex. How should I do this? You can add
private vertices for every click, k plus 1.
or just two of them is enough. Okay, so as he says, for each Vi, so now add for each Vi, let's call it Xi, Yi and make them adjacent to to Vi. So for example here it will have its private guy Xi, Yi, and they are not adjacent, but they are adjacent to everybody else. Now what happens? Now let's look, the moment you pick a vertex in the clique, they are dominated. Wait, one is not enough. Why can't I just pick that guy? What vertex? No, you can just pick X itself to do the job.
X is not connected to this W.
Doesn't matter. That does not force us at this point of time. It does not force us that I cannot be picking some Wi into my solution, right? If you just added Xi, what happens? You made one more large clique, bigger size clique. So what's the big deal about it? Right? It doesn't help us. I mean, I'm not saying the proof won't go, but who wants 5,000 cases? I want a clean proof. I do not want a dirty proof. So look, all I need is add one extra person so that I have a clean way of arguing something, then I add them. Right? Now what I know, look, so who is going to dominate Yi? Okay, either he or the vertex of the clique. So suppose you picked him, right? Then who will dominate Xi? Him or this guy? But look, from every clique and its private neighbors, you have to pick one vertex, and you can only pick one vertex because your budget is K. Now I have used my budget. I only have K budget. So from each of such object, I can only pick only one vertex. Right? I have a budget of K. So once you have used up your budget on Yi, you don't have budget here anymore. You use your budget on Xi, you don't have any more budget here. So you can't pick two guys here, then one of these clusters will be disjoint. So basically we have a disjoint guy, V1, X1, Y1, V2, X2, Y2. By forcing that XY, YI neighborhood is completely here, I have forced, these are disjoint neighborhoods. So it means I need to pick one vertex from each neighborhood, otherwise I cannot cover my dominating set. Which means if I pick Yi, I cannot pick a clique vertex, then I cannot dominate Xi. And that's it, which means that I must pick one vertex from each of this clique. Now I am happy. Now forward direction still holds, because forward direction you still go and pick a vertex in the clique. So every clique in XYY gets dominated and every edge gets dominated because it is an independent set. But let us look at the reverse direction now. If you had a dominating set here, let us project back to this guy and I am claiming that that is an independent set. Suppose not. So it means there is some edge between one LO guy and one leg guy. Suppose this is U and V, does not matter, suppose it is between Vi and Vj. So this is U and V. Then who dominates WUV? Who dominates WUV? Right? If you picked, why did I pick U? I just the projection of this guy, right? Then I have picked U and I have picked V here. But look at WUV. WUV, you did not pick, you did not pick any of its neighbors, then you did not dominate WUV. So I have encoded my independence in domination. Okay, and that's your reduction. Okay, so I have been able to show to you that multicolor independent set is a reduction to dominating set. But notice one thing, there is a very beautiful thing about this reduction, that K has gone to K, right. So whatever hardness I can talk about independent set, that gets transferred to the hardness of dominating set. If I can say that our independent set cannot have 2 to the power f of k n to the power little of k algorithm, then I can also say dominating set cannot have f of k n to the power little of k algorithm. Otherwise this reduction is a very beautiful reduction. N only grows polynomially and k is actually k, right. Okay, fine. Okay, so we have shown this. Okay. Now let us try to show. So dominating set is hard. Okay. So we have given a reduction from multicolor independent set to DOM set. Okay, we have put some more things in our world. Okay. So, do you know what spread graphs are? Okay. Okay, let's see. So, is the reduction clear? Like the reason for adding what gadget, why we added. It's more important than like the maths of it, right? So, please remember, what was this gadget doing? This gadget was actually preserving adjacencies, non-adjacencies among themselves. So, this is what you try to do it whenever you ask yourself question, what is it I would like to encode from the gadget, right? You ask different set of questions which you would like to encode. For some things there might be a gadget easy to make, and for the same equivalent formulation in some other way it may not be easy to make, right? And when you make reductions, right, when you make reductions, you try to argue, okay, up until now my gadget or my reduction is stable because I am able to go to the forward direction. But what then you ask, why am I not able to go to the backward direction? Like the way Sanjukta asks this question, oh, why one is not enough? When you are trying to make reduction, what is your goal at this point of time? Ask yourself, what is my goal? My goal is that from here I would like to have one vertex selected. That is my goal. Now, if there is an easy way to achieve this, I would like to achieve, because then it's a cleaner to argue. I do not ask my goal is not to make reduction, what you call, it's not an algorithm, right, that I am happy in making my reduction look nicer or like compact or this, no. My objective is to make my reduction as cleaner and nicer to argue. So, what is my objective? My objective is that I would like to force from this every click to pick one vertex, and this is basically like a selection gadget, right. So, these are like guards which forces you to pick one guy, right. Look what he said, let us add k plus 1. Why? Because his idea was, if my understanding correct, look, your budget is k, at least one guy will not be picked into a solution. For example, if I would have not known the reduction from the book, or I am not read or not prepared for the lecture, I would be exactly think like him, I'll add some k plus 100. Why? Because at least 100 will not be touched, right? You know, like this is just because so that I know that this gadget is behaving exactly the way I want it, right? Why? Because at least k of them can only be picked, so there is some enough buffer here, and when I am writing it I will try to reduce which is irrelevant during my writing of the proof, but not when I am trying to construct it. I am not trying to force myself to think in a harder way. All I am trying to do, this is what I expect from my gadget, is able to achieve this, like an engineer. I am completely an engineer, put an engineering hat, not scientist hat. What I am teaching you is an engineer's perspective on reductions, not scientist perspective. For the scientist perspective, you go and learn in a complexity theory course, not in algorithm course. This is an engineer's way of looking at it. I am making gadgets, right, and that is a basic difference. Okay. So, suppose if I ask you the following question, you know what split graphs is, all of you? Split graph is a graph that can be partitioned into two parts, V1 and V2, such that one of them is clique, other is independent set. If both are independent set, this is nothing but a bipartite graph, okay. So, can you give me an algorithm for finding an independent set in a split graph? So, what is a split graph? Right. So, split graph, so Vg is being partitioned into V1, clique, V2, independent set, right, and edges are going across, right. This is what is a split graphs are. And if both are independent, then this is bipartite. So, my question to you is, can you give me an algorithm to find maximum size independent set in split graphs?
Any maximal independent set is also maximum.
No. Okay, fine.
Size of maximum independent set is either V2 or V2 plus 1.
Huh?
I'll just take V2
Why?
because suppose I know that any independent set will have at most one vertex from V1.
Yes.
Even if I have to do some trading, I can. Even if I drop few vertices from independent set so that the adjacency is satisfied, I'm gonna get at most one vertex.
Are the connected components are
There's no edge. Is it not a split graph? Then I can take all of them and one vertex from here. I mean, okay. So at least we cannot show that independence is some hard on split graph. So and hence like try to do something that is not possible. Right? So at least this is not going to happen. Okay, fine. So do you think vertex cover is polynomial time solvable on split graphs? Do you think vertex cover is polynomial time solvable on split graphs? Did you understand the algorithm for independent set? Right. So now we would like to make an algorithm for vertex cover. Do you think it's a polynomial time solvable? Or we can show some hardness, NP hardness at least, if not W1 hardness. Because we know vertex cover, we cannot show W1 hardness. It is FPT 2 power k to like take an edge, a branch, and what all not. What about P versus NP question? Arindam? You cannot think of an algorithm? By the way, I don't know your name. Yes. Huh? Subham. Okay. Ashwin? You cannot think of an algorithm? This is what I say to people, right? When you come to lectures, when you come to classrooms, bring your head. Don't leave your bring at home. Don't leave your head at home. Did you understand the algorithm for independent set? Did you understand the algorithm for independent set or not? Then you should ask, right? Are you here like some god sitting here who does not ask any question? Then from tomorrow onwards, if you come to my class, I'll drag you. I'll ask you 1,000 questions. You don't sit idle in my class. If you did not understand, you should ask question. What you did not understand? Tell me now.
I don't know whether the partition was given in the as input.
Do you know how to, given an input graph G, do you know how to test whether it is split graph or not? No. Write down, homework. Give me a linear time algorithm to test whether the input graph is split or not. Suppose, assume the partition is given to you. Now,
If there are no edges between the click and independent set, then I can pick the independent set and one vertex in the click.
yes,
Otherwise, it will be the independent set.
even if there is one edge, independent set, right? Okay, very good. Now you know the algorithm for independent set, right? Fine. So I have given you this partition. Give me an algorithm for vertex cover.
So the complement of, so if there is an independent, the complement of independent set will be a vertex cover.
Yes. So complement of maximum size independent set will be?
Yeah, vertex cover.
Yes. So you don't know algorithm? So do you know algorithm for vertex cover or you don't know the algorithm for vertex cover?
I do know.
You do know, right? This is why I say bring your head. I mean, you give reductions, you talk about all these things, right? G comma k is equal to G comma n minus k. But when it comes to our algorithm, no one is ready to apply their brain. Sorry mate, then you cannot do research. Okay. But what we are going to show, the dominating set on split graphs is hard. So we are going to give a reduction from dominating set on general graphs to dominating set on a split graph. And this is yet another trick which is applied whenever you have two partition of a vertex set. What were we doing? We are making copies and doing something. Okay, so so let's start with first showing a bipartite graph reduction, and then we'll give a reduction to split graph because it's. So what I start with, so given a graph G, right, Vg, comma k, I make two copies of this graph. Okay, okay, I make two copies of this. Okay, so for each Vg equal to V1 to V1, Vn, I make V11, V12, V21, Vn1, V12, V22, Vn2. Okay. Now, how do you think we should be giving an edge, right? So, whenever you have a bipartite kind of things, you should always think of this way. Take the copy of each guys. So, suppose you take the copy of two vertex. So, what will be the copy? So, suppose V1, say Vi1, Vj1, Vi2 and Vj2, okay. And suppose Vi Vj is an edge, right. So, what are the possible things are? I could look, if I like to have an adjacency relation, I must give an edge between Vi1 and Vj2, Vj1 and Vi2. But in some situation I would also like to add this edge, and in some situation we would not like to add this edge, as we saw in the case of when we were giving a reduction from click to multicolored click. But here there is one opportunity where we would like to put this case, because why? Because it is a matter of domination. So, if I have selected myself into my solution, I would like myself y. So, because what does the definition of domination say? Either a vertex belongs to the solution or its neighbor belongs to the solution. So, if I have picked myself in the solution, then I would like to simulate that I have picked also my complement in the solution, like my counterpart in the solution. And how can I do? But if I do that, my budget might increase or something I have to do and difficult. So, the best thing is to just make it adjacent. So, if I haven't been there, at least my copies are definitely being taken care of, right, and that is an intuition. So, here we will just give edges like this, okay. So, you first of all basically what it means, for each copy you just make an edges, give a matching edges between each copy, right. Make matching edge between each copy of Vi, right. So, basically give Vi1, Vi2, you put an edge and you put an edge for each Vi Vj in edge, you make an edge between Vi1 and what? Vj2 and Vi Vj1 comma Vi2, that is it, basically this picture, okay. Okay. Now, let us try to argue that I have a dominating set of size at most k, right, let us argue. So, if G had a dominating set of size k, I would like to claim that then this guy is a dominating set of size at most k, right. But what can go wrong if I do this? Look at these guys, right, look at this guy, right. Clearly everybody else will be dominated here, because look at any vertex, either it belongs to, then if this vertex belongs to that solution, that copy, then I have made an edge between them. Otherwise, whichever edge or the neighbor you had previously, you still have neighbor. But what is the problem? It is not a dominating set for this bipartite graph. Why? Because who is dominating these people, right? So you just do trick. What you do? You make a vertex here, okay, and make him, let's call it x star. Make x star adjacent to every vertex in V1. Let's call this capital V1, capital V2. Okay. Now I would definitely like to pick x star into my solution. How do I force that? Look, forward direction is easy now, right? I pick this guy and x star, and this is my solution. Why? Because x star takes care of everybody else here, because he is adjacent to everybody else. Do you understand, Ashwin? X star is adjacent to every vertex in V1. So x star takes care of everybody else. Now we only need, and x star is in the solution. So now from here we have gone to G star k plus 1, because this is an extra vertex which we have selected, right? So we have selected this and this. Now why anybody else is a neighbor? Look, okay, fine. In my old graph, this is how the world looked like. Here it was my dominating set. Now look at any vertex here. He is adjacent to someone here. Every vertex outside is adjacent to someone here. So look at this guy and look at its copy here. Look at its copy here. Its copy is here. He is adjacent to some guy here, right? Look at that guy's first copy here. That edge is present here because the way we have given edge here. Right? So suppose, for example, suppose this is Vx and this is Vy, right? So what we have taken here? We have definitely picked up Vx1 in my solution. Right? What did I say? Look at the dominating set and look at its copy in 1. Pick up all those vertices. Okay. So now look at any vertex here. Say Vy. But this is the second copy of them, right? Now Vy and Vx is adjacent. Then what did I do? What kind of edges I have given? Then let's look. Vy, Vy1, Vx, Vx. I have an edge between Vx1 and Vy2, right? By my construction. If there was an edge between Vx and Vy, then I gave an edge between first copy of Vx to the second copy of Vy, a first copy of Vy to the second copy of Vx. Right? This is, if you forget one, this is basically Vx Vy edge. If you forget 1, 2 from the top, this is basically, so every edge has been formulated into 2 edges now. Right? Because if you forget one, forget the outer indices, they basically correspond to an edge. Okay, and that's where that is what it is. So this shows this is a dominating set. Now, when I go in the reverse direction, I would like that this x star must be picked into my solution. How do I force this? Huh? Exactly. So I just make x star adjacent to a degree 1 vertex, say called y. Then I prove to you, if there exists a solution containing dominating set containing y, then there exists a dominating set containing x star. So you just make, this is again gadget. And why? So why? If we really needed too much, I would have made some k plus 1 of them. Then I am forced to pick x star. I don't have to argue there exists an optimum solution and all that. Because again, who will take care of this k plus 1? At least one of them will be not, then you better pick x star and then you are done. Right? So this is basically idea of guard. Okay, this is an idea of guard. Okay, this class is going to be long today because there is no lecture for these people tomorrow. Okay, so I have to record everything and give it to them. Okay, so now look at the reverse direction. Okay, so I say let Z be a dominating set of size at most k for G star. Okay, this is my dominating set of size at most k for G star for this graph. Okay, yes, of size k plus 1. Sorry. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, so now I'm going to define. So this is Z, right? Now I'm going to define d of G for the dominating set of the graph is Vx if either Vx1 or Vx2 is in Z. If any one of the copy is present, I just take one of them, right. My claim is because I did not pick X star.
So DG is at most Z minus 1.
That's true. Observe, without loss of generality, we can assume that X star is contained inside Z. Okay. So clearly dj is of size at most k. Claim. Dj is a dominating set of size at most k for G. Okay. Clearly the vertices which are inside, we do not have to worry about it. Let us pick up any vertex here. Why this vertex is not here? Because none of its copies are present here. Why this vertex is not in DG? Look, if suppose this is some V little z or say VQ, why VQ is not in DJ? Because if either its first copy or its second copy are present, then we have added it. So VQ must be dominated by someone, right? Okay. So VQ1 as well as VQ2 are dominated by someone. Okay. So I am going to look at who dominates VQ2. So I go back and say, hey, who dominates? Okay, let's ask ourselves a question: who dominates VQ2 in Z? Clearly, it cannot be X star, right? So someone must be dominating here, no? Let's look at that guy. Okay, say so this is VQ2, so no vertex from here can dominate, so someone from here has to dominate, right? Because if you did not pick a vertex here, because it is an independent set, any vertex in Z which is from here is not going to dominate this. So you must be dominating something from the first class. Say Vx1, but then what does it imply? Vx1 and VQ2 are neighbors in G star, which implies Vx comma VQ is an element in EG, right? So we and we are done, right? So this is over, right? And if we had to have a split graph, what you do, you make this into clique and prove that this is enough. If you wanted to have a reduction from a split graph, what you do is basically make this into clique, then you do not even need X star and all those kind of things, because you just pick one vertex and that dominates all of them, okay, and that will work fine. Okay, okay. So either I can do this for you people. Okay, let me do a slightly different reduction for you people. Okay, up until now we have been talking about solutions and this and that. Okay, and I'm going to do slightly differently. Okay, it's a problem called list coloring. What is a list coloring? Input is G, S subset of VG, S is a vertex cover, okay, S is a vertex cover, okay, and there is a function from EG to the power list, okay. So basically for every edge, no sorry what I am saying, it is a vertex color Vg to the power L, where L is some list of colors 1 to n. So 2 to the power L means f of V is an element of f of V is a subset of L, and this notation denotes power set of L, okay. Parameter is S, the vertex cover size, okay, and the question is, does there exist a chi function, coloring function, let us say C from Vg to 1 to n, such that C is proper coloring, right? It means every endpoint gets distinct color, okay. Proper coloring means every end or no edge is monochromatic, okay. Secondly, and C of V is in L of V. So every vertex has list of colors which it can take, right, and you have to assign in this coloring a color from its prescribed list, that is called list coloring, right, and it is proper coloring. For example, if C of V, if what am I writing, f of V, if f of V would have been equal to 1 to n for all V in Vg, then this is nothing but normal coloring, because I am not telling you cannot pick third or fourth or fifth, right, there is no restriction, then this is normal proper coloring, right. But here what I am saying, no, every vertex comes with its prescribed list and you can only color from its prescribed list, okay. And I would like to show this problem is W1 parameterized by the vertex cover of the input graph. So this is no more a solution size, there is no notion of solution, but yes.
So when you have parameterizations which are not solution size and structures, do you always assume that that is given to you as an input?
Okay. Well, yes and no, but
It's not compulsory.
it's not compulsory, but it is better that you are given, because then you are proving something even more stronger.
In terms of hardness, then
Exactly, because this is hardness is better that even if you give me, I cannot do it. But look at this parameter vertex cover. In most cases, given or not given is not relevant, because I can compute this in FPT time.
depends, right?
What I said, for this problem, for this parameterization, it does not matter, because I can compute. So for this kind of parameterization, these are equivalent questions in FPT world, but for which it is not like computing it or even approximating it in FPT approximation in FPT time is harder, then you have to give me, otherwise how will I do it, right. But in hardness it is great that you gave me, because even if you provide me I cannot do it, because I am showing something is even more harder. Forget about computing it and then using it as a part of your reduction. Okay. So now what I am going to do is I am going to give a reduction from either multicolor clique or multicolor independent set, depending on how I look at it. So I am going to give a reduction from what is that called, multicolor independent set, and this is what I call a vertex representation. Okay. So this is what I call multicolor independent set. This is what I call vertex representation. What does it mean when I say vertex representation? Okay. So now I'm going to tell you a methodological way of designing reductions. Okay. This is like complete, clear, systematic way of designing reduction. So I'm just giving you a first very simple way of making a reduction, and so everyone who makes these reductions, who is good in making these reductions in the world, this is how they think. They don't think in an ad hoc manner. There's a systematic way of going about it. So what I mean by vertex representation? So what is a multicolor independent set? What is my instances are? Think of this way. I have V1 to Vk, and all my objective is to find a vertex from each of the color class which are independent. Now, what is my first objective is? My first objective is to pick a vertex from here. That's a selection gadget. I need a gadget which selects a vertex from here, right? Which selects a vertex from here, or selects a vertex. But that gadget should have a choice. What should be the choice? Its choice is that it can pick any vertex from here, right? So that is what. So let's first thing is, let's call it selection gadget. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to do a vertex representation. What I mean by vertex representation I'm going to have one vertex for each color class. Sometimes I will also have an edge representation, which I will do next. Okay. So here I will have one vertex for each color class, one vertex for each Vi, and then you encode things across this Vi to whatever mean this. Now this gadget must select one vertex from here, right? Otherwise, how it is, like I have to make a gadget. So when I say, I don't say one vertex, one gadget for each Vi. So there is like only one gadget. This is why it is called vertex representation, is that I have one gadget, single gadget, to select a vertex from each Vi. Single gadget. So that gadget should have a choice to select any vertex from here, right? Because you do not know which vertex is going to be part of your solution, right? So when I say, hey, take this solution, then look at this Vi, look at this little Vi in this capital Vi, then I should say, oh, then go to that gadget which corresponds to ith color class or ith vertex set, and then you have picked up that particular vertex, right? I need to have that flavor, that choices. So what should I make the gadget for? Luckily for this problem, the gadget is a single vertex. You will see in a minute, okay? But how does it even encode the fact that I'll pick one vertex from here? If I told you the gadget actually looks, gadget for each Vi is a single vertex. What is the gadget for each Vi? Each Vi I have a single vertex. But now I have to give him some power, that I mean somehow if I have a list coloring in this instance, it should mean that I have selected some vertex here. Look, what am I reducing to? I am reducing to an instance of a list coloring problem, right? So what will be an answer to this question? Forget about this. Answer to this question will be a coloring which preserves the list constraints. Now looking at those list constraints, I should be able to tell myself that, oh, I have picked up this vertex, I have picked up this vertex, I have picked up this vertex. So what should be that constraint? Look, to make this, what I need many things, many things, right? I also need my, okay, so there are lots of questions. What is list, right? What is my function from Vg star? I am constructing a G star here, right? To 2 to the power L. I mean, there are several questions here, right? So now tell me, if I told you that this is a single vertex gadget, so how am I going to be able to get an independent set, right? How will I mean that I have picked up some vertex from here? It's very easy. Let's call this vertex for each V1 to V1. Let's call this x1, x2, xk. What happens if I give f of x1 is equal to v1. So all the vertices in this color class is its in list. So my list is basically Vg. Think of these labels as its list, vertex label. So if the labels are v1, v2, vn, so if it assigns v5, it means I have selected v5th vertex from this. So by looking at this, if this is how I give a label, f of xi is vi, right? F of xi is vi, right? Then when I look at my proper coloring C, it is going to assign xi some vertex, right? Some color, right? But what is that color? It can only assign its color from its list, but its list is v1, so it has picked up a vertex from v1. It has picked up a vertex from v2. It has picked up a vertex from vk. So this is how I force, okay? This is great, okay? So forward direction is very nice, right? So this is up until now everything holds. If I have a solution, k size independent set containing one guy each, then what is my coloring function? Well, my coloring function, I have to define the coloring function, right? So what is the coloring function? It is going to be from Vg star. I have not yet come to the vertex color because that is only come when I have completed the gadget completely, is to 1 to, let's call it, I don't know what you want to call it. How do you want to represent vertex set of G? Do you have any symbol here? What do you want to call it? So we have used capital V1, so let's we call it V1, V2, right? It's labels, do not think of this way. So this is like V1 to Vn, right? And what is this going to assign to me? Now if I knew which vertex I have selected in an independent set, then I am going to assign C of x1 is the vertex which I have, suppose I have picked up Vi1, Vi2, Vik, right? So C of x1 is Vi1, C of xk is Vik, all good, right? All good. This is what my coloring will be, right? And this is completely up until its proper coloring, right? Because all I have is k independent vertex. What I have is k independent vertex with some list constraints. And what are the list constraints? V1, V2, Vk. But now again we are in trouble. What is the reverse direction means? Yeah, you assign any guy, but when I go back here, that may not form an independent set. So I need a constraint for independence. So what is the independence constraint? If I have picked up, this is exactly what. So repeat, they like get this in your head completely. A set S is an independent set if for any edge it doesn't picks both endpoints, right? So I need a gadget for each edge. So between any Vi and Vj, Vi, Vj, lots of edges are there, okay? So suppose I have here xi and xj, okay? Look at all the edges here, okay? So I will have all the edges for every edge between layer Vi and Vj. I have a vertex here. Let's call this E equal to, say, what should I say? Call me V, okay, fine, Vx, Vy, this is inside Vi, this is inside Vj, right? Now if I have given a label to this guy, some label to this guy, right, what I want, and some label to this guy, I want this to be properly colored. So when I cannot give it a properly colored, so I say, oh, let's give him, what color should I give him that if it is not independent, I cannot color it properly. Only way I can color him properly is that none of, like at least one of its endpoint is not selected, right? Then that's very simple. What is a list corresponding to E? Because look, list correspond, I have to correspond to Vg star. List is equal to Vg star. So now all I have to do is to assign a list. So for each edge, what is its list? Vx comma Vy. This list is Vx comma Vy. That's it. And you make him adjacent to xi and xj. This guy will be adjacent to this guy. That's it. Okay. What is the vertex cover of this graph? What is the vertex cover of this graph? This graph. This is the end of my construction. What is the vertex cover of this graph? Right? If you just delete x1 to xk from this graph, every other edge vertex is an independent set. Because how did it? Pick an edge which is between two color class, between an endpoint this and endpoint this. Right? I made a single vertex for him and made him adjacent to this color class vertex and this color vertex corresponding to this color class. And what did the label did I give him? The label which I gave him is the label of its endpoints, and that's it. What does it encode? Look, what does it encode? When can we not color him properly? If both sides have picked up the label which is given to him, right? Which means what? Then that's the only time you cannot pick him, right? Right? So if you have a properly color, it must be that from his labels, you are not picking one of the labels to its neighbors. It means what? It's an edge, right? So you have put up this constraint. From every edge, my solution only contains at most one endpoint. This is the constraint which I want to maintain, and this is what I have made. Okay. So think what you want and think what you need. Okay. So what is the vertex cover here? My vertex cover is x1 to xk. That's it. This is my vertex cover, and I'm saying I'm done now. Why? Look, if you had a proper independent set, colorful independent set, then just give the coloring like this, the way I have defined partially in the beginning. And for every edge vertex, what I know, I claim to you that at least one of the endpoint must be free. Right? Why? Because look at the Vx and Vy. So Vx and Vy, there is no edge because that is an independent set in my graph. So this edge doesn't, such an edge doesn't exist. So for every edge, at least one of the colors or one of the labels in its list is unassigned to its endpoint. So I can assign that, and that's a property currently. Did you understand, Ashwin? Then why don't you ask?
I was thinking.
Right? This is not Baba Maiya ka Parbachan. You must ask question. Otherwise, you are going to go back home trying to learn, and you will not learn anything because you have other things to do. So it's best to stop the teacher in between. It doesn't matter. I will explain you 1,000 times. That's perfectly okay. Right? But learn to ask question. That's the first basic thing to do science. Learn to ask question to anybody and everybody. Like sitting idly like this is not helpful to you, not helpful to the teacher, because now after that I go out of this room, I am going to assume that you know everything, and then that's dangerous. Okay? Okay, so let's go back. Where you did not understand.
This vertex cover.
Okay, so you did not even understand the construction. What I did? For every V1, V2, Vk, there were k color classes. For each of them, for each color class, I made one vertex, x1, x2, xk. So how many vertices of such nature are there? K of them, just k of them, x1 to xk. So they, and what are the label sets I have assigned? What are the colors? Think of each vertex itself as a color. Right? So if I say I have painted him with V5, means I have selected a V5th vertex from this color class. So I have to also define a function from vertex of G star to the label set. What the label set define? Vertex set of G. And for this vertex, which is x1, I have assigned what are the labels? So I am telling him its list is V1, means it can be either painted with first vertex in this color class, second vertex in this color class, or third vertex in the color class, but the only vertices by which x1 can be colored is one of the vertex in his color class. Similarly, a sum vertex xi can only be colored with a color of one of the color which is nothing but a vertex here in this color class. Do you get that point? Right? Or if you are uncomfortable with this terminology, think of this way, that every vertex has its own color. Every vertex has its own color. I am red 1. Other vertex calls it I am red 2, and there is a bijection between a vertex set and the colors. Okay. So, and the union of all the colors is my labels or colors, and every vertex x1 gets a color what? I say, oh, what is the allowed color on him? I put that in. What is the allowed color on him? I put that in. What is an allowed color on him? I put that in, and so on and so forth. So this x1 has label set, what are those colors? Exactly those colors which are allowed from my bijection on these vertices, right. So now if in my coloring I have colored this vertex with red 5, then I know which vertex it means, which vertex is here which can get red 5. So this is exact. So rather than thinking of them coloring, I am saying okay fine, like let us think of color by labels or colors a vertex itself. So I am giving the labeling V1 to Vj. So you can color him with V5, means basically means V5th vertex from here. So by assigning, look what I said, f of xi can get a subset of labels. What did I assign him? V1, Vi, sorry here, Vi. It means this vertex can get only labels which correspond to selecting a vertex from here. Fine. And how many such vertices are there? K vertices are there up until now. Now I say let us look at any edge. Any edge is between some Vi and some Vj, right. Any edge is between some Vi and Vj because each graph induced on each Vi is an independent set. So it is between some Vi and some Vj, some edge. So it has an endpoint, say Vx and say Vy. So now I make a vertex for every edge in the whole graph, every edge, but every edge is adjacent between two vertex, like two color classes. So I make this vertex and make him adjacent to the two color classes he is adjacent to, right. So all these guys, so basically this graph is looking like this. Think of this way, I have identified every vertex in V1 into one vertex. I have identified every vertex in V2 into one vertex. I have identified every vertex in Vi into one vertex, and so on, and I have subdivided every edge. What I did, for every edge I have made a vertex in between. Now what is a vertex cover of this graph? This fat vertex, right, because if you delete these fat vertices, every other vertex is degree 2 and adjacent to one of the fat vertices. So think of this way, that I have identified all these vertices. This is a fat vertex, this is a fat vertex, this is a fat vertex, and every edge I have subdivided it, like I have between them I have added a degree 2 vertex. Now if I delete all these fat vertices, what are left? All these isolated vertices, right. So that is an independent set. So what is the size of the vertex cover? Exactly equal to k, right. So in this reduction I did not have to control anything else but the size of the vertex cover. Size of the vertex cover needed to be a function of parameter, because it means function of my click size, because that is my parameter, right, and that I have controlled here, right. I only have a vertex cover of size how much? Exactly equal to k, which is equal to the click size, right. So k has gone to k, rest I do not have to care about, because the hardness I want to say is that I cannot have an algorithm of nature f of vertex cover into poly n, that is my goal, right. By showing this reduction, what I am saying, my parameter is vertex cover. So I would like to show that I cannot have an algorithm of the form f of vertex cover size into polynomial in n. Now by making the vertex cover size being k, I say look, if you could have such an algorithm, then I can apply this reduction and I can get an algorithm for click. That is my goal. So in this reduction, the size of the click has to become like vertex cover has to become a function of size of the click of the input graph, not anything else. Now there comes the reduction. What is the reduction? If I have a k size independent set, then all I have to define is a labeling for C's. Like I have to define a coloring function from Vg star to V1 to Vn. Right? And how did I define a coloring on these subdivided edges? I said, hey, you are between a vertex x and vertex y. You can be only colored with vertex x and vertex y. So each subdivided vertex has a 2 size label, which is nothing but its endpoints. Okay. Now if I have an independent set, how do I define my coloring? I said, okay, fine. I'm going to define first C of x1 to the vertex in the independent set which has been selected. C of xk is a vertex in the independent set which has been selected. And for every other vertex which is like this subdivided guy, I want to assign a label which has not been already assigned, that is it. And let me tell you that such an assignment always exists. Why? Because pick a vertex. Why I cannot assign? I have already assigned its neighbors. So only reason I cannot assign Vx and Vy to him because Xj has been assigned to Vx and Xi has been assigned to Vy. That is the only reason, right? But then what does it mean, this Vx and Vy? It was representing, it is an endpoint of an edge, right? Then what does it mean? Vx and Vy had an edge, right? But you started with an independent set, which means that whatever it may be, whatever the labeling you have given here, I can find a labeling for each edge which is consistent with this and it is proper coloring. That is what it means. Now in the reverse direction, if I have a proper coloring here, then I look at which this x1 to xk is labeled with which vertex. I know that whatever the vertex they are labeled with, that means that belong to that particular class. I go and pick them. Oh, you are the one, you are the one, you are the one, you are the one, you are the one. Now I have to claim that that's an independent set. I say, oh, if you are not an independent set, then there is an edge. Okay, fine, then there is an edge. But how can this be properly colored? Because this C is a proper coloring. If this has been colored with this has been colored with this, then he has no choice. So that's a contradiction. So what I have got is an independent set. Okay. Now you understand? Please learn to ask questions. Okay, so fine. So this is basically a vertex representation of multicolor click. Now I'll give you probably the last reduction. Okay, fine. Okay. And this is like an edge representation. Okay. 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 So like, okay. So this is like what I would like to do. Okay. This is okay. Okay. So this problem is called odd set. Okay. So input is universe and a family. So this is universe. This is a family of sets over universe over U, and there is no restriction on cardinality. F could be anything. This is the last reduction of the day, hopefully, until unless I feel like doing one more, then you are in bad shape, but hopefully not. The question is, does there exist S subset of U such that for all F in F, F intersection S is odd, right? If you notice, if you just say that F intersection is S is non-empty, then this is a hitting set. But I am not asking that it is empty. It can be 1, it can be 3, it can be 5, it can be 7, 9, 11, 13, but it cannot be 2, it cannot be 4, it cannot be 6. Okay? So you can also ask, what about even set? Right? Okay, so this is like, so this is another question we can ask. This is an odd set. So there is another question called even set. Same setting, but you want, does there exist S subset of U? Look, S subset of U, mod S is at least 1, otherwise you take S equal to empty set, every set has a intersection what? 0, which is an even number. So you make your life slightly harder, and mod S is at least 1, and for all F in F, F intersection S is even. Okay. Okay. So this is called even set. Okay. Does that is S subset of U and we forgot the main thing, S is at most K, otherwise what's the point? And this is your, oh God, famous open problem. We do not know parameterized complexity of this. This is open. You solve it, you definitely can get a stock or Fox paper, maybe best stock or best Fox paper for sure. This problem is equivalent to what is called minimum code word, or you are given a matrix over F2, you are given a matrix over what? F2, field of 2, and you are asking, is there a dependent set of size at most K? Not independent set, dependent set of size at most K. Like, is there a set of K vectors such that which are not linearly independent of size at most K? That is the same question over F2, finite field of 2. Okay, it's the same thing, and there is also something called in like coding theory. There is some relation. All this. So this is very important and very famous fundamental problem in coding theory, for which parameterized complexity we don't know. If you ask equal to K, then it is W1 hard, but if you ask at most K, which is most important problem, this is hard. Or if you take a binary matroid and you ask, is there a girth of size at most K, this is the same problem. So it has a different formulation, but we don't know the complexity. So if you are brave enough, please try. Maybe people are just blind enough and they don't know the solution because someone did. So there was someone hard problem like bicyclic and some young student came and solved it. So it is not unlikely because old people get completely contrived and believe that you need some new and fresh and very hard idea, maybe not. Okay, fine. So, but what we will see is an odd set. So, it is a very natural tendency or tempting to do the following. Yes.
Even without S at most K, how you understand the question? Is it easy?
What?
That there is some set whose intersection of everything.
No. No, at least I don't see anything. Why? Even testing whether there exists an odd set is not easy. It might still, that might itself be hard for all that I care. But I do not know. So, but yeah. This is your version of question. Like, does there exist an odd set? Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll have to think. Maybe there's a way to test it using some flows and matching. I don't know. Okay, so look. So one natural tendency is that why don't we start from the multicolor independent set? Let's make universe as vertex set of G, and what we do, let's make some special F1 equal to V1, like first family is nothing but consists of vertex from here, F2 equal to V2, Fk is equal to Vk. Now notice these V1 to Vk are disjoint sets, they are pairwise disjoint. So anybody must pick one vertex from here. If I am looking for a solution of size k, look, and it cannot pick more than one. So it exactly picks one each. So clearly it is like an odd set, right, because one is also odd. So up until now, given a multicolor independent set, I can try to do this. But now I will try to encode, but I need to encode independence, right? How do I encode independence? That is not easy, right? So, or how can I, like, what do I want to like to do? I would like to say that, look, I cannot pick both of them. So as we have been doing up until now, what will the natural tendency to do? Well, if I have a vertex Vx here and Vy here, let us introduce a family, call it Exy, which is nothing but basically xy, corresponding to every edge xy and edge. Now, but what is the problem with this if I do this? What is the problem with this if I do this? look, clearly,
Forcing to pick one from every edge.
I am forcing myself to pick.
One from every edge. Suppose
Is that the only problem? Does the forward direction goes through in this reduction? For every edge, I have just added xy as a constraint. It's a family, right? For every edge, make its endpoints as a set. Now, look, because of your budget, and these xy come from different color classes, right? So, whatever be happening, and it is an independent set, what you have started with an independent set, you cannot be picking xy, you cannot be picking both of them, right? So, this is very clear that if at all you will pick exactly equal to 1, you cannot be picking both. But the problem is that you may not be picking anybody. Even in the forward direction, I may not be picking anybody at all, right? Because look at the set of guys which are independent here, yes, fine. So, F1 to Fk forces us to pick one guy each, and what I started with is an independent set. So, from no edge, I am picking both the endpoint, because what we have been trying to do, a set is independent if it contains at most one endpoint from every edge, and up until now that understanding was good enough for give us. But now look at all the sets, if it intersects at exactly one guy, but it may not intersect at all, right? So, forward direction also does not go through. So, a simple idea of this nature, you try to do all kind of these kind of things, and this is basically what I was doing in the vertex representation, right? Because look, for every vertex, how many gadgets did I had? Only one gadget, right? Right? And V1, and it was like, okay, so picking a vertex from here meant selecting a vertex from here. So, if you try to do a vertex representation of multicolor independent set, you get into this kind of trouble, okay. So, now what I am going to do, I am not going to give a reduction from multicolor click, but I am going to give a independent set, but I am going to give a reduction from multicolor click. And as all of you have noticed, we can always assume that V1 is independent set, it does not matter. Okay, so what happens? So, what you do at this point of time, again, clearly I need a selection gadget which picks a vertex from each, okay, picks a vertex from each. But now what I will do, I will also have gadgets corresponding to edges. So, what I want to say, from every color class, pick a vertex. From every pair of color class, pick an edge. So, my object will be, okay, here you pick these many edges. So, what will be selection gadget corresponds to? It will say, so this is what you do, okay. So, now there will be a selection gadget means pick a vertex from each Vi, pick an edge from each Eij. What is Eij? Is edges between vertex sets Vi and Vj, okay. This is what Eij will mean. But now there is a problem, okay. I picked a vertex from here, I picked an edge from this, but now, so the selection is over, but now I need coherence. What do you mean by coherence? If I have picked a vertex from here, if I have picked an edge from V1, suppose I am giving from the click, so what will the reduction in the backward direction? If I have picked something from here and picked something from here, look at, but I also have chosen an edge between every I and j, right? So, I would have chosen some edge here between 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1 and 4, 1 and 5, 1 and 7, everything, right? I have chosen an edge between every pair of color classes, in particular 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1 and 4, 1 and 5, 1 and 6, but I cannot be choosing an edge which is incident to different vertices of my Vi. So, I have to make sure that every edge which I have selected must come from the same vertex in each Vi, right. So, I need to be somehow coherence, right. I need to have some sort of coherence gadget to fix them up, right. So, first of all, you always start with a gadget for each Vi, gadget for each Eij, and then you add gadgets so that you force yourself to pick what you call. So, if you the moment you selected a vertex from here and the moment you selected an edge, every edge which can be selected must be adjacent to this vertex, otherwise something should go wrong. Okay. So, now what we are going to do to fix this up, what we are going to do, so again look how your selection gadgets are, this even these things requires a quite lot of thinking. It is not that, I mean it is not that easy all the time, but it is not that hard also that all the time, at least in most of the reduction which you will generally encounter. Okay. So, what should be my, now if I have to pick a vertex from each Vi, I have to pick a vertex from each Eij. It means I need to have a universe where each vertex and edge should correspond in something, right, because when I say, oh, this is your selection object, then I should have some meaning of this in my graph, right. So, my universe is going to be, so I am going to define U comma F, where U is going to be Vg union Ej, okay, fine, and I have some special vertex sets. F1 is V1, F2 is V2, Fk is Vk, and for all I less than j and 1 and k, okay, I have, let us call it Fij, which is basically Eij. Notice all of these are pair by disjoint. All of these are what? Pair by disjoint, right, between every color class I, now by I less than 0. So, 1 2 is allowed, but 2 1 is not allowed by this definition. So, like I am only selecting edges in one way. Now, for every pair of color class, the edges which are between color class 1 and 2 is different from edges between color class 1 and 3, right. So, this is basically partition of edges and vertices. So, and they are like element pair by element disjoint sets. So, whatever you do, you have to pick one element from each of these guys, right. So, I have to set k prime to k plus k choose to first of all, okay. Okay. So, you have picked up some vertices, some edges, fine. So, if you had a multicolor click, then what is your solution, what will it correspond to? Well, pick up the vertices and edges corresponding to this click, you are done, okay. But now we need some coherence gadget which will mean something. So, what we would like to say, let's go back and think for ourselves, okay. And notice one thing, from here, because of the budget, you will pick exactly one, so that is odd. So, what we would like to say, well, I say, look, if you have picked up a vertex here, because that is only things are allowed, and suppose these are two different color classes, and you picked up an edge which corresponds to two different, so one guy definitely corresponds to this guy, suppose, but other edge is from somewhere else, then some catastrophe happens. Something cannot be covered because of your budget or something. So, now we apply a slightly, again a clever idea, is that look, I need to have a function or family of elements which, if you did not be coherent, then no way you can hit it the way we were in dominating set. What we had, if you remember, for every edge, we think of dominating set as a set cover instance. Then for every edge vertex, we actually had who all can dominate him. So, look at its endpoint, Vi minus V union Vj minus Vj. This is what it was, okay. So, now, so let me define another thing. So, for a color class Vi and Vj and a vertex V, okay. So, let me define Okay. So for what I am going to say, E, I, J and V, what does it mean? E, I, J, V means edges adjacent to V, edges adjacent to V, like this. E, I, J, V means oh, V belongs to either Vi or Vj and the edges adjacent to it. Look, a vertex can only belong to one color class, no? Right? And what is V? Edges adjacent to V with other endpoint in Vj. So this one, because a vertex could have edges in Vj, some Vl, some Vt. So basically, if you notice, edges incident to V is nothing but, I can think of V belongs to some particular color class, right? So to him, to some other J, because V will belong to some I, is basically disjoint union of E, I, J, J ranging over not equal to I. Is basically, I can say edges incident on V is nothing but, on a vertex V is nothing but disjoint union of E, I, J, L, where V belongs to Vi, okay, right, disjoint union J not equal to I, right, J not equal to I, and J is in 1 to L. Vi, J, sorry, what am I writing, right, J is not equal to I and J belongs to 1 to L, and this is it, right. So it is basically a disjoint union of, so think of this way, right, this vertex has edges, some vertex to Vj, it could have, for example here, it could have some edges here, some edges here. So I am partitioning this edges with respect to, look at this vertex and which other color class its other endpoints belong to, that is all that I am doing, okay. So this is what it is. So now let us think of this way. So what we are going to do, so we have this notation. So what is our idea is that, look, so what I am going to have, that for every vertex here and this, I said, look, I will not put V, but I will put all the edges incident to him and all the other vertices here. Who will hit him? No, sorry, okay. So I am going to have a new, for all V in Vg, okay, J not equal to, for all V in Vg and V belongs to Vi, I am going to have following sets, okay, or think of this way, E, I, J, V tilde. What is this E, I, J tilde or prime? It's basically, so V belongs to EI. So V I minus V, so I have deleted V. So everything else but V, and union E, I, J and V. So what this set consists of? All the edges which are incident to V and all the vertices of color class Vi except V. It's very clever. Now what happens? Look, if you have picked up some, look at a color class, right? If you have picked up two guys, then things will start happening to you, because look here, okay, so let us delete this. What happened here? Something very clever happened here, okay. So what you do basically, or other way of writing this is like, look, okay, so let's, for V in Vg we have defined this, okay, let's define this little bit more cleanly, okay, then maybe it will be a bit more clearer too, okay. I have defined what EIJV means, okay. So now for all I, J between 1 and k, okay, for all Aij into 1 and k, okay, I also have the sets, let us call it, okay, f I j v equal to E I j v union V I minus V for all V in V I, and f I j w is equal to E I j w union V j minus w for all w in V j. This is what it is. So what it means, so I fix a color class, say I and j, I less than j, and for every vertex here I say, okay, I am going to define for every vertex here a set. What is that set consist of? Every vertex here but this vertex and the edges incident to him. So it consists of this and this. This is what it consists of. Now let us see what happens if we picked up two different guys. So first of all, because of this disjointness constraint, you are never going to pick more than one guy. That is first thing to be sure about. But imagine yourself that you picked up a vertex here, but you picked up one edge may be incident to him, other edge is not incident to him. Now you tell me, but right now you tell me, look, this is how you have picked up. Now okay, what if I, why, for which it will be 2? Okay. Now we have to talk about coherence, right? So if this had happened, what would have gone wrong? Let us try to understand that something will happen with only these edges, right? So suppose this is say Vx and suppose this is Vy for this, and it is some Vi, some Vj, Vl, okay. So I mean not too many things happens anyway, so let us see, we will try to understand it, right? I mean this is not something which is not that I remember very well, but intuition will be very clear. So suppose, okay, so I have a set corresponding to Vy which consists of what? Which consists of Vi minus Vx, right? Vi minus Vx, what?
F I J V Y. If we take
F
I J V Y.
F I J,
V Y.
okay, very nice.
So it is intersect with the edge and Vx.
No, it is V minus
Vy.
Vy,
So Vx is there
so Vx is there
and the edge adjacent to Vy.
and edge and union
E I J.
E
I J V Y.
E I J
V Y.
Vy.
So this edge is there and Vx is there. Both are there.
This edge is there and this Vx is there, right?
It is a even set.
It will be even set, right? Look, what happened? You picked up Vy, right? You picked up Vy, sorry, you did not pick up Vy, then you have picked up Vx because look at this edge, right? You only picked up Vx from this solution because from each of the set you are only picking up one vertex, right? Look, from each Vi, this forces you to pick exactly one vertex. So a vertex label from each Vi has been picked exactly one of them. So you cannot be picking Vx or Vy. Let us assume that you have picked up Vx, right? Suppose your solution Vi intersection my solution is equal to Vx. Suppose it is exactly equal to 1 because V1 to Vk, and I have k choose 2 and I have exactly that budget. I have k plus k choose disjoint sets. So from each of the set I am only allowed to pick exactly one of them. So I cannot be picking from Vi 2 elements. So I am only picking one. So now suppose between two color classes you have picked up a different edge. So look at this corresponding set. So from V minus Vy, as he says, you have picked up Vx, so clearly this is there, and you, by our choice, you have picked up this edge which is in Eij Vy, so that is even. So you exactly will pick one and you will exactly pick one, but that will be 2, okay. So that is how it all matters, okay. Okay, so now let us look at the formal proof. So this is my end of my construction. So if I had a multicolored click, so if I have a multicolored click, okay, then I have Vi1, Vi2, Vik, this is a k click, okay. Now this I have a k click, okay. So my S is going to be Vi1, Vi2, Vik and all the edges and Vi A, Vi B, A comma B in 1 to k, A not equal to B. Agreed? My claim is this is my odd set for the forward direction. Clearly, in fact, it is not odd set, it intersects exactly 1 with each set, right? It intersects exactly with each set. By our choice, this is okay because this is what we had in our head and we have been constructing. So this is fine. Now look at any I, j and v, right? Look at any f, I, j and v. Look at if any I, j and particular v, right? So if either if you have this vertex, then the edges, like if you look at if I, j, v, right? So what you have done, this is cleverly, right? Look at this vertex, right? So what you have done, you have picked up in your set this and this, right? So in your click, either you have picked up this vertex and this edge. So in that case, since you have removed this vertex, this is what you did cleverly, you have picked up this edge incident to it. So that is fine. If this vertex is in your solution, right? If this vertex is one of these vertices, then look at those vertices. There are two cases, there are two types of Fijv's, right? Those V which corresponds to a solution vertex and those who do not. If I correspond to a solution vertex, then that set does not contain that vertex, but it contains the edge corresponding to this, so you are exactly one. But look at any other set, in other set you contain you do not contain edges across to this because you contain the vertex which is in the outside, so you have contained exactly one of them, okay. Now the reverse direction, if you have an odd set, look, it's like, okay, if you did not pick 0 then you pick 2, okay. If you, so this is how the forward direction goes. In the reverse direction, if you had a solution, reverse direction, you picked up some, I am not going to even look at these guys, I am only going to look at these guys and I am going to tell you that those guys are vertices and edges of a click. These guys, whichever the vertices I have selected from here and the edges which I have selected from here, they are vertices and edges of a click. So suppose in the reverse direction, I have selected some Vi1, Vi2, Vik, right, and some say Eij, this is what you have selected, right, some Eij, claim this forms a click. Okay, and to do that what I have to say, okay, well, look at any Eij, its endpoints are Vi1, V, what an idiotic notation. This is like Not that I'm happy with this notation, but this is, I mean, this is like this is what, if you're half prepared, this is what happens. You can never come up with a proper notations, okay? Sorry, this is like a real mess of notation, okay? But hopefully, I mean, it's all there in the book, so you can read it. Don't write it, I mean, okay? So this is what it is. So I will show one and other is symmetric. Suppose not. I mean, we just now argued, okay? So fine. EXY is where? In some, okay, some vertex at X, some vertex at Y, capital, and what I have picked up here? Vxy and Vy. And what we are saying, so its endpoint is this. Well, suppose it is not its endpoint, then look at the set corresponding to, suppose EXY's endpoint is not Vix, for example, then it is some other W, right? Some other W is in the endpoint here, okay. Then look at the set Fij W. What happened? It will have 2, right? Because by your choice you have picked up this edge, and because you have not picked W, you have picked up Vix in this set, so you have exactly equal to 2, but that is a contradiction. So this is it. Similarly from this side, and you are done. Okay, so this is what the reduction is. So this is called multicolor click edge representation. Why? Because for every edge I have selected vertices, I have selected edges, then I added an extra gadgets here to maintain coherence. Right? There are many ways of doing this. Like sometimes we add numbers and say, hey, if you picked up this number, if they don't match and give you equal to this, then you are in a wrong position. Or there are many other, or you have different order of magnitudes of number, and then you, okay, vertices will have this magnitude of number, edges will have this magnitude of number, like n square, and the edges will have some n to the power 100, so that like they cannot sum them up and like neutralize each other's power. So it's like you do some kind of propagation effect. It's basically a propagation effect. It's like a propagation effect. I had selected something that propagates to something else, that selects to someone else, it's like a propagation effect. So this is what you try to create using these gadgets, right? But the thought process is what? If you notice in all this, this is pretty trivial, no? Pretty simple to start with. What is not easy is adding this coherence gadget, where you need slightly more tricks to that you do not create things which are not necessary. Okay, fine. Okay, with that I'll close today's lecture. We don't have lecture tomorrow. From 3 to 5 we don't have lecture. That was the whole point, because these people have some class or something. Okay.